We're shaking people, back with another reaction, back with another Lucky Dip reaction. Once again, big shout out to hero of the channel, Philip. I mentioned it before, like people who comment on music and suggest deep dives and so on. I often refer to as friends of the channel, people who've actually shared some of their collection I call champions of the channel, and people who've been sharing just a ridiculous amount of music of different artists, different genres, and making stuff available over a long period of time so that I can download it in the way that is, the most sanity retaining for my purposes. I really do have to call them something beyond that. So heroes of the channel is something I've said in a few videos. So once again, big shout out to Philip. And in this case, we're going to listen to a tune and an artist I actually know, but I loved seeing this in the Lucky Dip folder. And I realized, I've started a Psybient reaction playlist, and I've also put true ambient and other related genres in there. So it's a playlist I have serviced semi-recently. I reacted to a couple of John Mark tunes not too long ago. But ultimately, I haven't done a proper Psybient reaction in a while. So when I saw Flucturion 2.0 in there, I was like, oh my god, it's perfect. So this is an artist from Russia. I believe his name is Konstantin. He originally made Psytrance under the name Flucturion, and this was an artist who came across my attention, and it's funny because he didn't start making Psybient under the name Flucturion 2.0 until I think like 2013. But when I discovered his Psytrance, it was right around the time when I was getting into the earliest Psybient and down-tempo and a proper Psybient sense that I've come to enjoy so much and use in my Psybient mixes and so on. A group like Carbon-Based Lifeforms and Solar Fields and so on. So yeah, I actually discovered Flucturion, the original version, like maybe 08, 09. And again, someone who's listened to Psytrance and originally Goa-trance going way back to my earliest raving days in the mid-90s, yeah, it's a genre I've continued to follow. So then when I saw the name Flucturion 2.0 a few years later, I was like, wait a minute, so did he add someone to the group? And it's like, no, he's just now making psychedelic down-tempo and, slower trance, progressive trance, but with a psychedelic flavor and so on. So yeah, it is an artist I know, and this tune, which I don't remember which album it's from, I must admit, but it's a tune I've actually used in a mix not too long ago. The mix was actually recorded several years ago, but I put it on my Ambient Excursion playlist. I think it's like mix number 85. It's called Signs of Life. You're going to find this track in that mix. So after we do this reaction, if you want to hear it in the context of a mix and, the Ambient Excursion sort of atmosphere, Signs of Life is the mix. And the next mix, which is called Hunger to Understand, and I think it's 86, that one features the regular version of this track, which is to say we're going to listen to a remix by Flucturion 2.0, and the name of the tune is Aimlessly During Sleep. And as I said, this is the remix, but I do, at some point, or at somewhere, I should say, in my Psybient collection on my music computer, I obviously have the regular version as well. So, yeah, Signs of Life and Hunger to Understand, you'll hear both the remix and the original version of this tune by Flucturion 2.0. Aimlessly During Sleep, it makes you think about lucid dreaming maybe, or at least a cognitive experience during sleep. It makes you think about perhaps the logic and normal chronology and temporal framework of being awake and actually going through the physical world perhaps doesn't apply, so it's more aimless, it's more free-flowing and meandering. It is a tune sonically which has that, it's a percussive Psybient. It's not just a true ambient soundscape, so it has some drive to it. So I feel like whatever aimless dreaming or eccentric dreaming is happening, there must be some action, some kinetic activity. So let's listen to it. This is Flucturion 2.0, Aimlessly During Sleep, the remix. And once again, shout out to Philip for sharing the Lucky Dip folder and the many and multifarious artists that are included therein. psycho-emotionally, but Psybient, it does it in a way that maybe no other genre can. Simple bass line groove, but very vibrant, very electric. Sort of acid scented melody, but also that rapid, sort of, adjacent to the main rhythm of the tune. Cosmic, yet tribal at the same time. A little acid squiggle. Melodic layer. Such a good touch. It's just the layering is so rich. That transition right there, the tonal depth. And it just reminds me, like, during the 3 or 4 year period where I was making two Psybient mixes every week, there'd be moments where I'd be putting the mixes together and I'd be like, oh my god, like, there's no one else here, but like, listen to this tune. does feel very dreamy. It feels like grand, nearly incomprehensible phenomena, the stuff of dreams. Which is funny because my dreams are always very mundane. I'm like making a sandwich and then I wake up. What's the point of that? Slow down and dissipating, but still a lot of energy. Be careful where you touch it. Maybe safe to approach it. I would still advise caution. Yeah, shout out to Flucturion 2.0, Constantine, as I think I said his name is. And yeah, ultimately, I have a number of mixes with this guy's work in it. And so when I went into the Lucky Dip folder and just started scrolling through, I was like, wait, not only do I know that artist, I know that tune. But it's interesting though, you know, having so many of those mixes, and I'm listening to so much music these days, there was a moment where it's like, okay, like not only do I know that artist, but I know that name of track, and I think, again, as I rightly suspected, that I've heard both the remix and the original. But in the moment it was like, I wonder what one that is, like I couldn't think of it. And so then, yeah, I did a quick preview. It's like, oh, right, okay, that track. Which reminded me of which mix I had used it in, which is a funny thing, right? Like, I put samples in my mixes, and part of the reason I do that is not only because it makes my mixes a little more personalized, but also, you know, if they were just like Psybient mix number 78, Psybient mix number 111, or, you know, Acid Techno mix number 354, like, I'm not going to remember what tracks I used or anything about it, but when I name it by, you know, one of the lines used as one of the samples, it makes me think about, oh right, and I used it with that track, and that reminds me of the other tracks I used. So again, once I realized what track it was, it reminded me of the mixes I used it in. So as I said, if you're interested in hearing it in the context of a mix, Signs of Life, which I think is like number 85 in my Ambient Excursions series, and the regular version, not remix, is in the very next set, which I think is Hunger to Understand. So yeah, once again, shout out to Philip, shout out to Flucturion 2.0. I'm gonna try to, you know, get the Lucky Dip playlist back in my like frontal lobe. That's not really what I should say. My dad's a neurologist, and I feel like he'd be shaking his head like, what are you talking about? Nevertheless, I will try to keep it in the front of my mind and make sure that it doesn't slip too much again. So yeah, let me know what you think of this one. It's been a few days also since the last Ambient Excursion. I'll try to get one of those going in the next day or two. And yeah, other than that, let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.